Over the years, my clients consistently have conveyed feedback with a similar message. Our work together was the most impactful strategy and leadership effort they had experienced and or been involved in.
Welcome to Create New Futures, a show about thought-provoking ideas and practices you can use to create and shape your future in life and in business. Join Aviv Shahar, author and innovation strategy consultant, as he shares his proven strategies that have helped clients create breakthrough results. Aviv has guided executives at Fortune 100 companies, and now he wants to help you.
This is Aviv with a new episode of Create New Futures, and this one is titled My 2020 Epiphany and How to Overcome the Blind Spot of Success. The game-changing epiphany of 2020 that hit me in mid-September has changed my outlook about opportunities for the coming decade. Because insights often appear inside the weave of a story, the experience I'm about to relate could provide the insights and provocation to help you unleash a whole new future for you. I hope that hearing my discovery journey encourages you to a daring recognition of how you can change your game and shape your new opportunities. I was leading a strategy event with a senior executive team in Minneapolis during the last week of February 2020. Upon returning home to Seattle, I reported to my wife Sarah that we had received outstanding wow feedback. At the conclusion of the 3-day workshop, the client reflected on the team's experience, saying, not only were we able to create a shared vision of the future as a team, we also experienced living into this vision and working in the way of our aspirational future. And we've discovered concrete behaviors and modalities that enable us to accelerate this future. And as a bonus, by applying these modalities to current work issues, we've been able to complete work that was not even planned for this week. He then added, I've never seen any consultant create this kind of impact. There is truly something novel about this approach. His feedback was gratifying, and I felt a tremendous sense of accomplishment and pride. I've been refining my process and the Create New Futures methodology for 20 years, and it has evolved as both an art and a science. Unlocking the creative brilliance of a group of very smart leaders to help them play an even bigger game is a challenge that requires true mastery. At that moment, I felt that I was at the top of my game. Little did I know that surprise the following week was going to upend my plans completely. In late February, scientists and the public understood truly little about the impacts of COVID-19. Within 24 hours, however, of my return, the new reality landed. I was scheduled to conduct a global leadership summit in California for a client whose 80 leaders were coming from Asia, Europe, and from across North America. On February 27th, some 72 hours before kickoff, the event was cancelled. By early April, after 3 more events had been cancelled, my sober assessment was that I was unlikely to deliver another project during 2020. For the last 13 years, however, I had been preparing for some disruptive cataclysmic event, so mentally I was ready to relax into a reclusive retreat. During April and May, I created and delivered several short virtual interventions designed to enable executive teams to boost their resilience and adaptive behaviors by helping them apply debrief and learning practices. Still, the outlook going forward was unclear. Over the years, my clients consistently have conveyed feedback with a similar message. Our work together was the most impactful strategy and leadership effort they had experienced and or been involved in. As a result, I associated catalyzing dramatic impacts with my physical presence with the team at an off-site location. My success had become my blind spot. A decade ago, I realized that my belief in the correlation between successful project outcomes and my physical presence represented a major obstacle and a bottleneck to any significant scaling of my business. As a result, I decided to test the validity of my clients' feedback by doubling and then tripling my fees, then raising them further. This approach enabled us to scale the business significantly over the last decade and to refine the Create New Futures experience choreography that we bring to executive teams. This simple discovery was groundbreaking for me. When clients realize returns of 10, 20, and 50 times their investments, they clearly see the wisdom of investing meaningfully in our collaborations. By June 2020, I realized that we must shift our focus to helping teams pivot first from crisis management to managing the crisis, and then to evolving the organization through these testing times. Because I continued to operate from the assumption-based paradigm that my ability to create dramatic value required my physical presence with a team, I did not know what the feasibility was of delivering virtually the transformative value we are paid to enable. The implication I drew from the COVID-19 environment was that with the restrictions on in-person events and on travel, I must reduce my consulting substantially. In retrospect, I was slow to realize the life-changing gift the pandemic shutdown was offering me. 3 months and several new projects later, the message about this gift has become loud and clear. After multiple full-day virtual events, members of 5 different teams have described their experiences as true game changers, as the virtual environment offered powerful ways to create breakthrough results. Still, here is the shocker. Several participants explicitly stated that my adaptation of the Create New Futures methodology to the Zoom environment is so effective that these virtual events exceeded anything they had experienced in traditional off-site settings. Why? Because our online techniques enable them to increase their focus, foster greater creative intensity, and lead to a higher level of collaborative efficacy. I was stunned. They obviously saw something that my blind spot had hidden from me. My surprise was threefold. First, the adaptation to a virtual environment enabled an incredibly powerful strategy and innovation development experience. Recognizing my own false assumption of conflating physical presence with value creation was the second shock. Third, I now realized I can continue offering this highly demanding and rewarding work for much longer than I initially had anticipated. I therefore feel obliged to offer my story of how COVID-19 dramatically transformed my outlook about my opportunities over the coming decade. It has been a game changer for me as well as for my clients. In addition, for those who would like to learn more about the adaptation of the Create New Futures methodology, let me open the hood and offer you the design principles of this approach. A few friends have asked me why I decided to share my success secrets. For me, the answer is simple. This is a cup runneth over situation, and I choose to help as many people as I can so that they may be able to help their organizations and or their clients achieve their aspirational outcomes. 9 design principles for creating breakthrough events virtually and for enabling a 7-figure consulting business. There is a book to be written about this process, so what follows is a relatively concise summary. Design principle 1. Create a shape-shifting format. When I conduct an in-person leadership team event, I continually shape-shift the format to accelerate discovery by creating new combinations and connections that heighten engagement. We have doubled down on this approach in the virtual environment. A critical question is how to keep people engaged virtually for 8 hours. The answer: we create a versatile and rich experience through a cadence of shape-shifting formats. In a typical 8-hour virtual workshop day, we transition through 4 or 5 breakout rooms, enabling team members to experience 7 or 8 highly engaging, inspiring, and energizing fit-for-purpose modalities and interaction scenarios. Design Principle 2. Activate a foreground-background alternating current. To unlock transformative insights that bring forward the team's individual and collective strength, I provoke new connections and relationships by designing a series of alternative inquiries in which the what explorations about strategic opportunities, which we call the foreground work, are interspersed among the how and who discoveries about people and culture that we called background work. Engaging in these alternating inquiries liberates intuitive and creative dimensions typically blocked in business settings by connecting a whole range of mental zones and circuitries that allow for semi- and subconscious processing in the background. Although we have a workshop agenda, I let everyone know in advance that we will use it as a guide to facilitate our collective jazz playing rather than to follow a fixed musical score. My thorough advanced preparation allows me to call upon my intuition to surf the wave of the conversation as I follow its energy pattern and emergent nature. Curating this shift in context and allowing divergent and convergent cycles to inform our explorations and strategy formulation enable leaders to unshackle entrenched thinking, develop new ideas and perspectives, and discover previously unseen possibilities. Design Principle 3. Step outside the comfort zone of what we know into the liminal zone. Although business leaders are expected to make data-driven decisions, they also must be able to connect the dots in new ways and see possibilities even before the data are fashioned and/or are complete. Therefore, a critical element of our approach is presenting the team with inquiries for which they don't have ready-made answers. I ask leaders to be imaginative, to explore openly outside the comfort of what they know, to produce rapid starter answers, and to stay with open inquiries. Stepping into the liminal zone engenders new possibilities and allow people to surprise themselves and each other. Design Principle 4. Catalyze rapid prototyping. Rapid prototyping is one way to cause a download of information from the unconscious to the conscious mind. In the workshop process, I introduce a challenge that initially appears impossible because in business settings, people generally withhold their creative nature. Then, I force participants to rapidly produce their rough drafts and prototypes. Instead of talking about the work, they find themselves thrown into the deep end of the pool where they must produce at a much faster rate than is required during a typical day at the office. Engaging in rapid prototyping enables executives who perhaps have forgotten how to create new deep work themselves because they have gotten used to managing the work of others to rekindle their passion for this creative work. Design Principle 5. Cultivate psychological safety. Curiosity and care, inquiry and compassion, humor and play, delight and joy, trust and discovery enable the open exploration that are prerequisites for transformational results. For these qualities and characteristics to emerge, however, people must experience psychological safety. Once they are able to relax into this shape-shifting environment, team members are ready to embrace active listening and to swarm from one activity to the next with ease and flow. When people feel free to speak up and concurrently are comfortable in moments of introspective silence, we are able to enter a zone where the collective throughput becomes a greater saliency and propulsion than does the need to protect one's self-view. Design Principle 6. Visualize and mind map the evolving conversation. There is a great deal of power in using a collaboration tool to visualize the work at hand while the ideation is underway. The fact that there are diverse learning and processing preferences around the virtual table, that is, conceptual thinkers, visualizers, storytellers, kinetic thinkers, and more, means that we must accommodate them all. To pull together the full scope of talent and learning styles output, we use a large canvas, a digitized wall, to aggregate and display all the ideas, images, and slides. This methodology works well with the right app and a master collator scribe who brings the technical know-how together with the capacity to capture ideas live and thematically organize the wall in the free-flowing part of the conversation. A second powerful application of the digital wall is allowing teams and individuals to propagate content concurrently, and then to step back and reflect on what they have each contributed through this swarming activity. Design Principle 7. Break out of linearity by creating concurrent learning loops. To enrich the range of permutations dramatically and to accelerate discovery, we activate concurrent explorations along the inquiry continuum by turning the traditional sequential development cycle on its head. In the initial framing, I typically probe a why purpose inquiry before delving into the what strategy exploration and the how capabilities evaluation. To truncate 3 weeks or even 3 months of the traditional approach to 45 minutes of prototyping, we get team members to actuate cross-pollinating learning loops in all directions simultaneously by working along the continuum concurrently. Design Principle 8. Implement the 72-hour rule. A key discipline we implement to ensure that we escape the collective stupidity syndrome and produce efficacy is activating the 72-hour rule. To innovate and inspire workshop participants, I sprinkle new learning, behavioral modalities, and leadership insights along the journey. They act like energy capsules released into the arteries of the process. We then have team members activate the 72-hour rule within minutes of their learning each new model or modality. The velocity of learning application is the exponent factor. As people begin to get results, the positive learning loop validation unleashes momentous acceleration. Of all the techniques we apply, this may be the most critical game changer. The immediacy of application and activation in the moment is so liberating and empowering that it delivers us into a possibility zone that is miraculous. Simply put, in the presence of the contagious excitation of possibility, nothing is impossible. Principle 9. Create deep work. The entire process described above leads to a dramatic pivotal shift from managing to creating, and from superficial work to deep work. What do we mean by deep work? It is purposeful and intentional work that unlocks possibilities by daringly stepping into the liminal zone. It is explorative and creative, transforming mundane exchanges into meaningful conversations. Deep work unleashes our most profound aspirations and latent genius. It embraces our vulnerabilities and fears as fountains of strength, opening us up to courageous possibilities. Deep work brings us together in whole new ways as it converts the seemingly impossible into incandescent grace in action. What does deep work look like? Right now, as I describe and codify my process methodology, I'm creating deep work. If you're attuned to my work, you can feel the intensity and the energy potential of this process. Its nascent emergence is penetratingly cathartic for me because I'm in the deep work zone. The content is as new for me as I frame this as it is for you reading and or listening to it. The discovery of this process by trial and error and the effort to codify it requires deep work. So following my 2020 epiphany that I described at the beginning, this modality trace burst out like a little volcano. And so now it is your time to turn the key. I invite you to choose one idea you can implement right here, right now. Do not wait 72 hours or even one day. Begin right now to build your discovery and transformation momentum. The thrill of leading and transforming is that you get to renew and make yourself anew in the process. And yes, please share your insights and experience with me.
Thank you for listening. Aviv always encourages his clients to identify the 1 or 2 ideas they can move forward into action immediately. What will you capture and apply today? You can always begin with a small action and then build momentum over time. When you move forward from an idea to action, you get immediate ROI, return on the time you invested, and return of learning. And then the learning cycle builds the success propulsion. One more thing. You can reach Aviv directly by phone and email to discover how he can help you create a new future for your business and organization. Creating your new future can begin today.